Hey, what's up, guys? It's Zach, and today I'm back in Adobe Illustrator creating a illustration of the new Travis Scott Jordan 6. Yeah, I was super excited to draw this as soon as it got announced, just because like the colors and like the little pouch and everything. So yeah, I'm gonna be in Photoshop a little bit too, using my normal kind of glitch, smart layer stuff. Yeah, I lay out my layers like normal, just kind of with the picture of the shoe on top, and then with my black color and background. And yeah, just trying to get the loose outline in there so I can start to figure out like what I even want to do with this piece, because like most pieces that I start, I'm not 100% sure what I'm even going to do. I know some like loose vibes I get from the shoe and like have been thinking about it, but like don't have necessarily a set plan. I ended up doing a lot of stuff with the background, which is pretty fun, and I don't normally do on my shoe drawings as much. I normally focus more on like the actual drawing. I do leave out like a little bit of the actual like um, fine tuning of the illustration, because to me that just makes the videos like 20 minutes long and it gets really dumb, and then I don't want to upload it because I'm like, no one's gonna watch a 25-minute video where like 20 minutes of it's just, me fine tuning and fixing like little small shit where you really don't even tell. But yeah, anyway, so like I show how to do everything in this video. I just like leave out just a little bit at the very end, but I think it makes it a better video. Anyways, one way that I do get those dashed lines that I don't show in this video, but like I show the harder way, but I don't show the easier way. To get those little like where it looks like there's it's actually sewn or whatever, you can just use a dashed stroke. So under the stroke window, if you don't see that, just go under window stroke, and then click the little dashed line option. If you don't see that, go in the top right of the stroke panel and click like more options or whatever, or show options, I think. And yeah, you can just make like a dash line, and I started doing that at the very end. You can also just, like I do everything else, use the Pathfinder tool and then cut away, which is what I show how to do in here. But it honestly just takes like way longer, and it looks a little bit better, but you can't even really tell that much. So like I would even just like mix and match and then just use like a dash line on certain shit, and that way it doesn't all like look the exact same, like it gives a little mix up or whatever. But also I varied like the opacity on all the little stitching pieces so that it feels like certain pieces are highlighted more and gives a little bit more depth. That's something else that like you may not pick up right away or even just from watching the video, but like I even try to scale stuff down. Like I'll be like, okay, all the little pieces in this section are gonna be like 50%, all the little, or 50% opacity. All the little stitch pieces in this section will be 30%, like so on and so on. So it becomes a little bit more like methodical, but not necessarily like super flat, you know what I'm saying, where you can just tell everything looks the same. Like especially on this one, I added like in Photoshop after a vignette or whatever, and because I wanted to make it kind of pop a little bit more, so like just playing off the lighting scheme in the Photoshop file and keeping it consistent like actually in the vector illustration, like the same thought process or whatever, I felt like made it a lot more successful, a successful piece, because it actually starts to make logical sense, and like your eye picks up on that kind of stuff. Maybe not even like directly, but like subconsciously your eye really like notices little things like that, and you'll just be like, wow, that pops so much and I don't really get it. But it's like the subtle details of like 10%, 20%, 30% opacity, and building things out and creating like subtle variation. And honestly, the same thing can be said with the lines. Like you want just a little bit of variation. Like normally I go through and use like a 2-point or 1-point stroke on everything, and then go in and add like heavier and thinner points just to like make it pop. And this is the same thing. So yeah, I put a little grid in the background, as you saw, with just blending together two lines. I think it was like 1 or 2-point stroke, and then I pushed it to the background and then lowered the opacity. I experiment so much, just even stuff that I edit out, I really have fun like just playing with layout and playing with different things. But I kept a little bit of that in this video because I wanted you to see like there's no like master plan that anything goes into. Like it's really just playing off things. Like I even play off a little bit of the glitches that you saw there, and I'll start connecting pieces into the glitches that aren't even really there in Illustrator. I don't know if that makes sense, but like stuff will start connecting just based off of like the two files playing off each other. and I know that probably doesn't make any sense, but what I'm saying is like I'll glitch stuff out in Photoshop and then I'll have things like start connecting where those things are in Illustrator, but you don't see them in Illustrator. But then once you save the file in Photoshop and it glitches out, like the puzzle comes together almost, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm just going in now and thickening up a little bit of those lines, adding a little bit of variation, like I was saying earlier, just enough to like add a little bit of depth and stuff on the things that I want to be a little bit thicker. But that's nothing really like super exciting. It's just me merging stuff together with the Pathfinder tools and merge and subtract and just slowly building that stuff up. And then like around the edges, building up like a lower opacity, like 50% and 30% shading, just to give a little bit of like look of indentation around some of the seams. And yeah, if you're not familiar with any of my videos or any of my stuff, the Photoshop file I'm using are just like smart layer template files that I create. Those are available on my Patreon. The link will be in the description. But like, if you're trying to get the similar effect, just without buying my Patreon or whatever, you can just use the distort effect in Photoshop and then use the square option, and you just play with those settings, and you can get a lot of really cool effects. I specifically in those templates use it like crop to a pattern that I made also, and then a lot of times I use masks to like just shade out certain sections, because since they are just templates, like I don't want everything to look the same, and a lot of drawings like I just want a specific glitch from a certain thing, or I'll like play with the settings until I get something really cool and then just use one little piece of it. And you can even do this on your like starter photo or whatever, like before you trace anything, you can glitch out the photo and then trace that, and that gets a really cool effect too. A lot of times I use that in combination with like glitching it after to get a lot of really like unique but not necessarily super over processed looking effect or anything. And I know a lot of people might think like, okay, well you're building it in vector but then you're putting it in Photoshop, why? Like, doesn't it contradict the point of making it vector? The cool thing about like the workflow or whatever that I use with the smart layers and then the just the specific effects that I use is you can scale that to any size. Just for work, I work on like a larger scale, billboards and stuff like that. So like I'm used to having to think at least semi on that perspective. So you can blow it. The file is going to be very hard to open. Don't get me wrong. Like it's not fun to scale something that big, but it can be done with the smart layers and using the effects like that. It'll blow up to however big without pixelating. I mean, as big as you'll be able to open the file, it'll be able to blow it up that big. And as you can see, I am kind of jumping back and forth from that Photoshop file and my Illustrator file. And as you can see, that's like me starting to connect stuff. I'm like figuring out like, okay, well, how high does it need to be on the Illustrator file to connect to the glitched out piece there and stuff like that. And this is honestly the part where I end up like editing out a bunch of stuff normally, but I wanted to keep a little bit of the back and forth and the experimentation. Like, it really is just me like stepping back, looking at it, changing the composition, stepping back, looking at it, changing composition, like actually being aware of what the whole drawing looks like and what it's going to look like at the end product, not just kind of like tunneling in on a certain effect and getting caught up in the weeds or whatever. And also something else that just happened, but that I've started doing a little bit more, but like it's definitely a newer thing, is I've been putting a very small drop shadow on certain stuff to make it look like I don't know, just like certain pieces are cut out or like above certain other things. I know that's very like that's what drop shadows do, but like I wanted the shoe to almost feel just a lot higher than the frame behind it and stuff. And so like rather than do the frame not black or put it at some like super low opacity and then put like shadow on top of that, I'd rather just like throw a quick drop shadow on the shoe, and then it gives a lot of that perspective that I was trying to get anyway without actually having to like shade the frame or anything. But I do feel like drop shadows can look kind of tacky, so I tried to like keep it super minimal on everything. I also put like I think a small outer glow just with the Illustrator effect on the 6 Roman numeral in the background. Just I wanted it to kind of complement the drop shadow on the shoe, but I didn't want it to feel like super overblown bright. like, you know, some crazy neon effect or something, or like, once again, something super over processed. I wanted it to be kind of simple. So yeah, and right now I'm just like putting in random shit and just seeing where it fits. This is once again something that normally might end up getting cut down a little shorter, but I wanted y'all to see just kind of like how I experiment and just like the process behind what actually goes into like laying out the composition and everything. So yeah, we're about to get to the part where I said I would show you the hard way on how to create the stitching pieces. So pretty much what I do is I blend two triangles together with the blend tool. If you're not familiar with what that is, I have a video on that. But anyways, I just blend two triangles together and just to create like a little cross hatching piece. And then I create another rectangle just across that to make that all one piece so I can use it better with the Pathfinder tool, as you're seeing now. And then I just use the subtract to cut away from the pieces of line. And as you saw right there, like it creates a stippled effect or whatever. And you could get the same effect with like I said, just the dash stroke. But the cool thing about like using that, and as you saw, I even like set the piece to the side, is if you're doing a lot of cross hatching and you want to keep it consistent, you can create those pieces like that and then just like copy and paste it over and over and cut away pieces, and it keeps everything consistent, but also gives it a little bit of character or whatever, because like, you know, it's little wedges, so it does give a little bit of perspective rather than just using the dash stroke thing, which is just going to give you, you know, the same space on everyone. But yeah, so like I said, I cut out a little bit then just from like keeping the video at a manageable length. But I do appreciate it if you made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. If you didn't enjoy the video, be sure to let me know. Also leave a mean comment or a dislike. Yeah, so have a good day.